We have one goal: to interview the best in sports, to meet the biggest names and find out what makes them tick, and the St. Louis athletes who move the needle with their compelling story. I'm Frank Cusimano, and this is Sports Plus.
Jaquindon Jackson is through. Touchdown! Kansas State outlasts TCU. Sonny Dykes' offense comes up inches short.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Plus. Upsets of USC and TCU threw the college football playoff into some flux. The Mizzou Tigers remained unbeaten on the court, though challenged today. And we go one-on-one with Tiger coach Dennis Gates. But we'll begin with the unveiling of bowl season. Before we get to the 4 teams that will play for the national championship, we'll tell you that Mizzou and Illinois will both be going bowling. The Illini get rewarded for a bounce-back season, while Mizzou salvages something of a disappointing season. The 6-6 Tigers will be headed to Tampa for the, wait for it, Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. If that doesn't fire you up, I don't know what will. They will face 7-5 Wake Forest on December 23rd at 5:30. That's the day after the bragging rights game, so back-to-back days of Mizzou heading into Christmas. When Mizzou Nation departs Tampa, the Fighting Illini faithful will invade the Bay. The ReliaQuest Bowl will pit Brett Bielema's 8-4 Illini against 22nd ranked Mississippi State. That means the Illinois defense will be seeing Mike Leach's air raid offense averaging nearly 50 passes a game. And in the playoff semifinals, it'll be top-ranked Georgia and number 4 Ohio State in one game, and then number 2 Michigan meeting TCU in the other. The Horned Frogs survived their loss in the Big 12 title game, while USC's loss bumped them out of the top 4. Those games are set for New Year's Eve.
4 seconds. Kick it back out to Kobe Brown, and he buries it at the horn. What a half for Kobe Brown. He will finish with 16 points.
The unbeaten Mizzou basketball team took a 10-point lead into the half against SEMO this afternoon. We'll have the rest of the game in a few minutes. But we're focusing tonight on new Tigers coach Dennis Gates. Since being hired last spring, Gates has been in constant motion, but he's also taken the time to understand the Mizzou brand. It's been obvious the tradition of this program means a lot to you. You recognize Mizzou legends on your Twitter feed every week. I remember reading that you texted every former Mizzou hoops coach about being honored to follow in their path before the season started. Why is that tradition so important to you and what you want to achieve here?
Sometimes, ultimately, when transition happens, there is a divide, right? And my major goal is to think of this thing as not Norm's guys, not Quinn's guys, not Frank's guys, not Mike Anderson guys, not Kim Anderson guys, not Konzo guys, but there are guys. They're Mizzou guys. They're Tigers. And our program is an unbelievable tradition-rich program that has some of the greatest college basketball players, pro basketball players developed through a great city, and that city is Columbia.
Mizzou had a coach in Mike Anderson who ran one of the fastest paces in the country. So far, this team's style reminds me of it a little bit. You're among the tops in fast break points and assists in the entire country. Why is that a style that fits the guys you have?
Well, it fits my personality first and foremost. It fits who I am as a coach. We want to play with pressure offense and pressure defense, and we want to be able to create opportunities. We want players to play with their instincts, and those are the things that I, as a player growing up, as a assistant coach, have always dreamt of when I said I'm going to take over my own program one day. The other part of it is when you have a team number 1 in assists, you have a team first in steals, you have a team top 2 in assist to turnover ratio, top 10 field goal percentage, you have an unbelievable style of play that's exciting for our fan base, but also successful and something that's attractive for our recruit.
Let's talk some rivalry games now. The game that means the most to everybody in the state is coming up on
the SEMO game. SEMO game. That's the game that everybody's more important than anything. The SEMO game. I knew you were going to say SEMO. I knew that. You see that? I knew you were going to say SEMO. You're impressive, man.
The next game is always the most important game. But that December 10th game has a lot of people's eyes too. Kansas coming to Columbia. Just how much have people been talking your ear off about how much this game means, and how excited are you to be a part of it?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I called Norm Stewart when I first got the job, right? I said, Coach. And then he said he'll call me back. So we exchanged calls. One day, it was this one day, he called me about 5 times. I said, Coach, I want to offer you a job to come back as my assistant coach. Will you accept it? He declined, but he quickly, but his wife accepted the job. She said he'll come back. But to tell you the truth, the first story he told me was his experiences during the Big 8, right? Big 12, and that unbelievable tradition between the two programs. But it's the tradition of our program. It's part of the fabric and the thread that connects us with the game of basketball, our former players. There's no doubt about it. I've been a part of some great basketball rivalries. Cal, Stanford, Florida State, Florida. I've seen certain rivalries. I've seen certain atmospheres and great games. I'm sure this is one of them that will definitely go down on that list as well. But none is more important than your next game against SEMO. So the SEMO game is very, very important. And I appreciate you asking me that question, man. That's impressive.
All right, Coach Gates, I hear you loud and clear. For tonight's main event, let's see how that SEMO game played out. The Tigers built on that 10-point halftime lead. Trey Gomillion takes it to the basket and lays it in. Later on, Sean East is going to get the steal, and the Tigers work it around to Nick Honor in the corner, and he buries the three for an 18-point lead. But Coach would see the Redhawks cut into that big lead. Vashon Grad, Philip Russell is going to find Isaiah Barnes for the 3-ball coming up right here. Later, Russell's going to hit the shot himself. That gave him 26 points on the day, and the lead was only 6. But Mizzou hangs on. They win 96-89. The Tigers are 9-0 heading into the Kansas game. In the NFL, Titans and Eagles, rookie Treylon Burks will make a great catch here, but he's going to pay the price. Ooh, he hangs onto the ball but takes a helmet-to-helmet hit. He was done for the day. That was a rough one. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles kept rolling. Hurts threw for 3 scores and ran for another. A.J. Brown makes the grab right here. Eagles are now 10-1, the final 35-10. Congrats to the crime dog, Fred McGriff. He is the newest member of the Baseball Hall of Fame. McGriff was unanimously elected by the 16-member Contemporary Era Committee today. Nobody else cleared the 75% threshold. Don Mattingly got 50%. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens both got less than 4 votes. Coming up, we take a look back at one of the best high school football seasons in St. Louis history and have a pair of first-time state champs in the studio. We'll also hear more from Dennis Gates on his big plans for Mizzou basketball. '22 will go down as one of the best high school football seasons in our area's history. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 local champions, so let's spotlight them. Out west, Francis Howe capped an undefeated season with a Class 5 title win over Fort Osage. It's the first championship in school history for the Vikings. It was also a first ever championship for Cardinal Ritter. The Lions won the Class 3 title over Reed Spring thanks in part to top recruits Marvin Burks Jr. and Frederick Moore. Down the road, the St. Mary's Dragons flew high again, taking home the Class 4 title against another area school in St. Dominic. It's back-to-back at 2 different classes for St. Mary's. CBC also went back-to-back in Class 6, winning an all-timer against Lee Summit North on a blocked field goal to go to overtime, and a historic performance from Jeremiah Love. And finally, across the river, East St. Louis brought another trophy back to the City of Champions. The Flyers won their 10th state title in dominant fashion and outscored their Illinois opponents this year 523-64. 2 of those state champs brought home the title for the very first time. We chat with Francis Howe and Cardinal Ritter for this week's Sport Plus Spotlight. And it is my pleasure to be joined in studio by the Class 5 state champion, Francis Howe Vikings, quarterback Adam Shipley, Coach Brent Shinaki, and running back Brady Holtman. Coach, first of all, we're standing here, Class 5 trophy sitting right here. How much pride do you have?
Yeah, a lot of pride, a lot of Viking pride. These guys work tremendously hard, and the commitment level of this group as an entire team, and these two guys as leaders have been nothing short, second to none.
The first ever state champions from Cardinal Ritter, Class 3 state champs, here with Dallas Winter Johnson, Coach Brennan Spain, Frederick Moore, Marvin Burks Jr. Coach, first of all, just how much pride do you have today being a state champion?
Oh, I have tremendous pride from the standpoint of these young men have done everything I asked them to do. These young men have learned from the loss we took last year and the year before in the state semifinals. And this offseason, they poured everything into it. They sacrificed, they put individual and personal goals aside for the ultimate team goal, which is to win the state title.
You're always going to be able to say you were a part of the first team to ever bring this back to Francis Howell. What does that mean?
It was amazing. It's an awesome accomplishment. It's an honor to be the team to do it.
You know, 1969 was our first football program at Francis Howell, and then to finally get it done for this community is huge. You know, I'm just excited for these kids. They reached their goals. That's what we wanted preseason. We're really going all the way back to December when we had extra meetings with these kids. Every one of these kids talked about state champions and state championship.
In the future, they're going to see that trophy. They're going to see the roster. You guys are always going to be that first team on the roster. How special is that?
It's just really special because, you know, nobody can ever take that from you. Even the guys that went there, Jamison Williams, Luther Burden. So we had a lot of household names, Joe Moore. So it's just really nobody can take that from me, and it's just a really special moment to me and my teammates.
Last thing, Coach, you're one of 5 state champions that we cover. That is a lot of winning in the St. Louis area. What's the talent level just like right now for across the river in East St. Louis, over here in Missouri? That's 5 state champions. That's a whole lot.
Yeah, that's a whole lot. That just goes to show you the growth and how all these young men really take their craft serious. Unfortunately, you know, a lot of these young men are in a situation where sports has to be one of the ways to get out and to not just better them, but better their family. So this is extremely big, not just for Cardinal Ritter, but for the entire St. Louis metro area.
You saw Marvin Burks Jr. there, and he made some other big news today as well. The 4-star safety from Cardinal Ritter flipped his college commitment from Ole Miss to Missouri. I asked Burks about his decision to flip to Mizzou and what fans can expect from him.
I just really felt like that was the place for me, for me and my family, and just being somewhere where I was close to home and being able to go in there and compete and play early as a young player and things like that. I'm just gonna bring a lot of excitement. I'm gonna bring a lot of, you know, just a lot of energy and excitement to the game.
Back to the NFL, Joe Cool, otherwise known as Joe Burrow, trying to keep up his spell over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Kansas City had the lead and were driving as Mahomes hits Travis Kelce, who had a quiet day and then is stripped of the ball by the Bengals defense. They recover. Then Burrow's going to calmly hit Chris Evans. No, not Captain America Chris Evans, for the go-ahead score. The Bengals have now won their last 3 games against KC, the final 27-24. The 49ers Super Bowl bus hit a pothole today. Quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is taken down by the Dolphins, and he breaks his foot. Jimmy G is done for the year. Enter Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, the last guy picked in this year's draft. He threw 2 touchdown passes as the Niners took control of the game against Miami. The defense did their part with a late score as well. San Francisco wins 33-17. Aaron Rodgers shaking off his aches and pains to play against the team he owns, the Bears. He's dominated them in his career, but the Bears were making it tough today. Justin Fields, back from his shoulder injury, goes 55 yards for the score. They went up 16-3. But the Packers scored 18 unanswered points in the 4th quarter to win it. They are now the all-time winningest team in NFL history, surpassing the Bears, the final 28-19.
Well, Missouri goes to 9-0. Their next
Mizzou gets a test next Saturday when they'll face their old friends from Kansas. Meanwhile, Coach Dennis Gates will continue to bring together a squad with a lot of new faces. Here's part 2 with Coach Gates, and it's our Cardinal Buick GMC Sunday Conversation. Let's talk about this start now. Undefeated, nationally folks will point to the strength of schedule, but do you really see this non-conference time as a chance to keep tinkering, see what works, and kind of meld all these new pieces you have together?
we've used every possible avenue. High school kid in Aiden Shaw, junior college kid Mohamed Diari and Sean East. Portal guys, you look at who they are throughout our roster, from Demoy Hodge, Isaiah Mosley, Dre Golston, Noah Carter, Trago Million. You look at all those kids, but also the returners, Ronnie DeGray III, Kobe Brown, right? And also Caleb Brown. We're mixing in a lot of transition, but to do it, you have to work on team building. And I think our guys have completely sold out, bought in to getting to know the best of each other, but also getting to know the standards, expectations that I have as a head coach and leader.
I could sit here all day and ask about all your players individually, but we don't have time for that, so I'll just pick a few. I'll say a name. You give me a few sentences about what makes them special on the court, and particularly in your system. Kobe Brown first.
Humble leader, very unselfish in spirit, but also a great, great college player, one of Mizzou's all-time greats, I think.
Isaiah Mosley, a guy that a lot of people were happy to see come back home and what he can do on the court.
Great, great teammate, unselfish in spirit, very great passer, better passer than he is scorer.
Noah Carter, one of the new guys who I think has turned a lot of heads so far because he can do a little bit of everything.
A great fisherman, a great hunter. He literally is a kid, the first recruit to ever ask me, Coach, can I bring my boat to campus? And to know that he has a balance off the court is the reason why he's so dialed in between the lines, because he has those hobbies. He knows who he is, and he's very unselfish. He's already taken staff members and teammates, and including myself, fishing on his boat with him. So it's been amazing.
Last question. What does success look like to Dennis Gates, both in this first season and then at the end of it all at Mizzou, whenever that is, hopefully a long way down the road? But what does success at Mizzou look like for Dennis Gates?
For me, it's to be a Hall of Fame coach. And to be a Hall of Fame coach, you got to cut down nets, hold up trophies. You have to have draft picks. You have to have graduates. You have to have certain things happening over a period of time that lends itself to that view, but also cuts out a path for you to accomplish such a goal, because there's certain programs that have been, there. And we're one that hadn't. And I think, and I truly believe in my heart that we can one day get there. And I know I can't do it by myself. I got to do it with my Hall of Fame staff and all the Hall of Fame people that I just listed. So it's going to take a village, and I'm excited. I'm definitely excited about it. But our tradition here says that we have a pathway. And I am thankful for our support thus far and our fans, but also with our current student body and making Mizzou Arena a great place to play.
Time now for the Well First Health, Frankly Speaking, and let's talk some baseball. The Cardinals brass is in San Diego for the winter meetings, and in St. Louis, we're all waiting on pins and needles for anything to happen this offseason. And to be frank, it has to. While the rest of the Central Division may be content to keep towing the line between mediocre and just flat out bad, the Cardinals have to strike big. If they want to compete with the big boys, the Cards need to be aggressive. Offensive upgrades at catcher, shortstop, and the outfield, as well as adding pitching, are the clear needs. So now go address some of those problems. You convinced Nolan Arenado that St. Louis is the place for him long term. You have the MVP, and you should have a nice vault of cash. Open it up. In his career, John Mozeliak has more often than not made the right move. It's time for him to make another big move. That's our show for tonight. For producer Andy Moeller, I'm Corey Miller. Have a great night, St. Louis.
Hands off this time to Burks. Burks breaks it back to the left side, and he's going to walk into the end zone for a touchdown.
With 8 seconds to go, play action over the middle. Norfleet's got it. Touchdown Vikings. Second one of the night.
And again, getting around to the left side. Won't be able to. Oh, he does cut it and breaks out of a tackle. Tries to get to the corner, and he will for the touchdown.
Snap is back. The kick is up, and it is blocked. Blocked, picked up by